Yo, what's good? We've now finished up the fall 2021 season. For the most part, all of the anime except for 86, which is pushed back to March, is all completed. So I figured it's probably about time that we did a tier list ranking all of the anime or at least that I watched in fall 2021. Logo reveal. Now, you can follow my socials, and if you want to check out any of my reactions from the fall 2021 season, you can click this link right up here. It'll take you to that playlist. Shout out to our amazing patrons over on Patreon, getting access to the full-length reactions of all of the anime from fall 2021 onward. If you want to join in and become a patron, then make sure you click the link down in the description, and that way you can get access to those full-length reactions for the anime that I watch seasonally. And if you're interested in more exclusive reactions that won't be cut up for YouTube for quite a while, for series like Made in Abyss, Tanya the Evil, The Devil's a Part-Timer, Ascendance of a Bookworm, soon we're starting Link Click, Goblin Slayer, and so many more to come. We've got a tier for that. Now, as you can see, there's a lot of anime here, and I did not watch all of this because, well, all of it was not worth watching, so I didn't even take the time to do that. And honestly, with a full-time job and making content, there's no fucking shot anybody's actually watching all of this. No way. Nobody's watching all of these anime. Anybody that says they either are lying or do not have a life. Now, I might not have a life, but I'm not gonna lie to you and say that I've watched all of these. So let's just start off by putting all of the anime that I did not watch at all into the unwatched category. And that would be things like this. I don't even know what that is. That's the ASMR anime. This, it just didn't look interesting to me. I don't really watch mech anime. That's more mech. Don't know what that is. This was supposed to be trash. This is supposed to be one of the worst anime. I watched the OP for this. Can we just put this here? I watched the OP for this. It was so fucking bad. It was so bad. I did not watch Yashahime because I didn't watch the first part of it. Didn't watch that, didn't watch that, or that, or that, or that, or that. Nothing against Lupin. I totally would have watched it. I should probably watch Lupin sometime. World Trigger, nothing against that either. It's a lot of seasons. It's a lot of episodes. Didn't watch this, that. Heard that this was dog shit. Didn't watch that. This. Dude, I did not watch anything. Holy shit. Wow. This is embarrassing. What kind of anime? I watched 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 anime. Damn. Okay, so off rip, we can see that I haven't even watched half of the anime from the fall 2021 season. Though admittedly, there's probably a lot of these not really worth watching, but I'd say this top row is all things that I should have probably watched. It's just that I didn't have time for all of those. So that's all the stuff that I didn't watch. Let's talk about the things that I did watch now that that is out of the way. And the first one here is Taisho Otome Fairy Tale. This was honestly a pretty damn good series. I'm gonna slap it in B tier. I enjoyed it. It is very much a more slice of life romance. There is comedy in it, some, but I'd say it's more romance than rom-com. The main character, the male, he pretty much has this issue where he's disowned by his family because of he gets into an accident and loses use of his right hand. By the way, his father, total asshole. His family is just really weird. I feel like they are very much a family that sees people as useful or not. Instead of looking at strengths and weaknesses of people, they're either strong or weak. I think that that's a shitty thing, but through the series, we get to see him and this girl who is essentially like sold off to be married to him in order to pay for debts from her family they have incurred from his family, and they're really wholesome and cute. She's adorable. She's like a little small adorable person. She's very kind and very helpful to people, and he's also extremely kind as well. They're just really cute together. But through this whole thing, it's just a journey of their love for one another, the main two. I actually have 1 or 2 more episodes to finish of this, so I did not watch the last 2 episodes of it, but I will. I'll watch it probably this week sometime. And I enjoyed it. Yeah, I'd say this is a B tier. Next up, we've got Faraway Paladin. Faraway Paladin is, now I'm not actually gonna put it in, I might put it in B, honestly. It is tough. to call, because I want to say that the world building and the elements in that regard are very much like an A tier. What's lacking for me is, I don't know, it just doesn't have this like it factor. You know, it doesn't have this factor that is almost kind of undescribable, something I can't really put into words that just makes me say, yo, this is a good series. You know, it's lacking that element, whatever that is, the thing that says like this is that makes me want to say that this is a good series. Now, I enjoy Will as a character, his missions, his goals, like what he is trying to accomplish, the way he was brought up. Honestly, that first arc, really good. His mission through the second arc of it, you know, trying to discover more people and spread the word of Gracefield, beautiful. You know what? I would say that this might be an A, but it's just lacking so much to end up in an S tier. But yeah, I could say this is an A. If there's some other A's in here, I'd probably put them above this. This is probably going to be the lowest A, but it could certainly be an A tier anime. Next up, we've got Platinum End. Now, Platinum End is a tricky one. My issue with this is the story feels weak, feels a little flimsy, you know, like there are so many elements that I feel like they just said, they took the outline, I would say, for Death Note and we're like, okay, well, let's just change out the people, but keep these same sort of elements, the surprise factor at this point in the series, how certain characters would interact, those things, they very much just kept those. I find Mirai to be a really annoying protagonist, man. Not as bad as like season 1 Subaru, very tough, but man, he's fucking annoying. Mirai, he's so annoying because I understand that he has to, they wrote him in this trope where he is the type of person that doesn't want to do bad things, doesn't want to hurt people. He wants to see people live, even when they're bad people and they're doing bad things, he doesn't want to hurt them. But if you make that decision, then they will continue to hurt people. And the results can be very much like a situation where, you know, like superheroes face this situation where they don't want to kill the villain, and then the villain one day finds out who they are, and as a result, they murder your family. You know, except he doesn't really have family in this series. I like certain elements. I like the whole angel becoming a god sort of thing, but a lot of it is just really not well done. And the story, like I said, seems flimsy at many times. I'm gonna say this is a C tier, not even a B tier. It's just not really that good of a series, but it's not trash. You know, it's definitely not trash. This is more of like a 6 out of 10 for me. You know, that's where I would say this is. Maybe even a 5. Next up, we've got Irina, the vampire cosmonaut. Now, this one is actually a series that I only watched the first episode of. I didn't think it was bad. It's just that I had a lot on my plate. I didn't get to finish it. But from the first episode, I would say that this is minimum C tier. It's definitely not a trash series. Could even end up being a B series if I finished it out. But again, I only did watch that first episode, and I may end up going back and watching other ones. So take this with a grain of salt. When I say that this is a C tier, I'm gonna actually put it above Platinum End, since I think that it was probably worthy of being a B tier. But since I didn't actually finish it, I can't really say too much about it. Next up, we've got Blue Period, which is better than Platinum End, I would say. It's more about the story of this character finally finding what it is that he wants to do with his life. This is something that he never thought it would, like he never thought art was going to be that thing that he would be so interested in, but it ends up being that thing that he is so interested in. He just hung out with his friends. He just got up to some shit. Like, he wasn't a delinquent in the sense that he starts fights and, I don't know, causing mayhem in society. I wouldn't say it's that, but more so he is just enjoying himself with his friends in high school and just doing what he does. And honestly, I thought this was a really good series. So I would have to put it above Faraway Paladin because we get to see this character develop, one, as an artist, and then two, as a person. We see that he is a more withdrawn person who doesn't have a lot of interest, who doesn't find certain things exciting, but when he finds art and discovers his passion for it, he starts to show that passion to others. He meets different people throughout the series that help him on his journey to become a better artist and to change as a person, to become more assertive and express himself. I thought it was probably one of the best series of the season. This was a really good one. Not quite S tier, but definitely worth putting in to an A tier. Now, it also admittedly might be a little bit biased because I myself am a fan of art. Like, that's something I did in high school. I can't paint for shit, but yo, some of the paintings in this, beautiful. Next up, we've got Vampire Dies in No Time. Now, this is a series that I didn't think was necessarily bad, but I'm not a huge fan of overplayed gag comedy. There are certain gag comedies that I enjoy, where they're not entirely overplayed. Now, I didn't finish this series. I got about halfway through and decided I didn't really want to watch this anymore. I didn't think it was trash, but I think it is a C-tier series. Probably better than Platinum End. No offense to Platinum End, but I just wasn't a big fan of this because, again, I am not a huge fan of gag comedy. I thought that there were elements I did like, specifically John. Also, I thought the OP was great. I thought the animation was great, but it didn't feel like the story was going anywhere, though I think that where I left off, I feel like they were moving towards an arc where the story was going somewhere. Next up, we've got Mieruko-chan. Now, this one starts off very much showing us a lot of fan service, and that's something that might have deterred some people, but I don't give a shit about fan service. Who cares? Whatever, man. It's just gonna get more degens to watch the series and then hopefully boost the sales of the series. I got no problem with it. But this series focused on Miko, who doesn't see spirits at all, and then one day does. And that flips her world upside down because she needs to hide the fact that she sees the spirits, because if she reveals that she sees the spirits to the spirits, then they will come for her ass. And the whole series is based around this horror element of her trying to hide the fact that she sees spirits, but also trying to learn more about it and become better. And, you know, when it comes to dealing with the spirits, but then there are other elements at play. There are other people, and oh man, it's a good series. This one is definitely better than any of the other ones I've mentioned here so far. Mieruko, this is definitely a series that I recommend to people. Totally worth watching. There's comedy, horror, some drama a little bit, and just the interactions between characters and how Miko deals with those spirits. Some good stuff. Next up, we've got Komi Can't Communicate, which is one of my favorites from the fall 2021 season. This is a top 5 series for me for the season because it is a rom-com that is beautifully animated. This is probably one of the best animated series that I'm gonna list here. Right behind like Mushoku Tensei and right in that realm of like Takt Op Destiny and Ranking of Kings. It's right around in there. It's really well animated. And just the way that the different characters get introduced and how they interact with one another is great. I really enjoyed seeing Komi's development through the series because she goes from somebody that can't communicate to she still can't communicate, but she actually manages to communicate a little bit more, and we see how Tadano grows with her to be sort of like a translator for her. Najimi growing as a friend to the two of them, helping Komi as well, even though Najimi does it in their own way. I think that what Najimi provides is also very helpful, and we also meet all of these other characters that are so interesting. That the school as a whole is just a weird school. Komi's an S tier. Komi deserves to be in an S tier. It is just such a fucking good series, man. Definitely one of my favorites. And next up, we've got 86, which has not finished. It is not over. And as a result, I'm going to put it in the A tier because I don't even know how the season's going to wrap up. They have had so many delays, and I understand the delays are so that the way they can improve the animation to make these episodes better. We're getting a 3-month delay on the final 2 episodes of the season. I imagine that's because these final 2 episodes are going to be wild. We're going to see Lena in the next one. I already got that vibe. Like, you can just tell by the way that episode 21 ended. 2021, something like that. I don't even remember. It's been so long. But yeah, it's just a good series. It's just well written. I think my biggest issue with the reactions for this series is it is so information heavy. Like, you really need to pay attention. Otherwise, you're just gonna straight up miss shit. That's a problem because I also need to input in order to say that this is fair use. You know, I need to actually change the content, make it different. If I'm just sitting there watching the series, which is what I need to do for a series like this because there is so much information given to us, and I have to give my input, some comments on things, and as a result, I miss shit. It's a good series, it's well written, but there's just a lot of information that's always handed out, especially because this one is very much a military political sort of thing. Now, there are other elements beyond that, but it's very much military political, and that is going to be a lot of information on the world building for the different nations. And yeah, I enjoy it, but again, that's my big issue with it. Next up, we've got Takt Op Destiny, which I didn't like at times, but also did like at times. There were some things that were pretty predictable and some things that were not. I didn't expect the ending. Oh, one thing I will say, animation, phenomenal. This had some of the best animation of the season. Again, I was saying like Komi's right up there with Takt Op Destiny, Ranking of Kings, and just behind Mushoku Tensei, which I think was the #1 spot in terms of animation. When you see that one episode episode. Oh my God, with Orsted, bro, that is fire. We'll get to that eventually. But Takt Op Destiny, it's better than a B tier. You know what? I'm gonna move Faraway Paladin down, and also Blue Period. I'm gonna move that down, and I'm gonna put Takt Op Destiny right here, because that's where I feel like it should be placed. It's Takt Op Destiny, I think, is better than these two. It was more enjoyable for me, at least. I think that this is in it for the long run sort of thing. It's a marathon, you know? Faraway Paladin's more of a marathon than a sprint, whereas Takt Op Destiny is very much a sprint. It is a short, quick thing. Blue Period, also a marathon, but I just felt like it was a little bit better than Faraway. But back to Takt Op Destiny. Beautifully done. Interesting characters. 13 episode series is rarely ever just like amazing. That's my personal opinion. I don't think 13 episodes is enough to make a series amazing. But with that said, we did have Odd Taxi, which was pretty fucking amazing. So I don't know. I guess overall, A tier is where I'm going to put it. Next up, we've got Shinka no Mi, trash. This was bad. Probably not as bad as Tesla Note. I didn't actually watch it again. Shinka no Mi, I stopped after 6 episodes. I'm surprised I went that far. Everything just felt like, hey, this is a generic isekai harem, and there's nothing about this series that is really that redeeming. Nothing. And so, yeah, it was trash. It was not a good series. It was by far worse than any of the other anime that I watched. I might have dropped, you know, like Vampire Dies in No Time, but I would easily finish Vampires Dies in No Time before I watched another episode of Shinka no Mi. It was not good. Next up, we've got Ranking of Kings, another S tier, which I'm putting above Komi. I loved this series. It was phenomenal, and we're only halfway through it. I cannot wait for the second half of it, because everything that we get introduced to, like the characters, the elements of the plot, the way that the world is set up, the kings as a whole, the conspiracies, the betrayal, just everything in this series is so fucking good. If it wasn't for Mushoku Tensei and Odd Taxi, Ranking of Kings would be my anime of the year in 2021. Also, if it actually finished in 2021, because unfortunately we're getting that second half of it in 2022. So it's kind of tough for me to say, oh, this is the best anime of 2021 when there's still half of the anime that hasn't even been released. With that said, it's just so great. Like the characters, their interactions, the backstories for these characters, Kage's backstory, Boji's backstory, the reason why Boji is the way that he is, what his strength is. I don't think we actually know what his strength is, but I have a feeling I kind of get his strength for the most part. And just some of the characters that we don't even know if they're good or bad. Like there are so many characters that we see them, we're like, oh, you did a bad thing, but then they do a good thing. And you're like, how do I feel about you? I don't know. Just overall, man, Ranking of Kings, one of my favorite series of all of 2021. Next up, we've got The World's Finest Assassin. And this is honestly... It's a little bit more than a generic isekai, so I don't want to say that it is a generic isekai. Like, this is not nearly as bad as, like, Shinka no Mi or anything like that, but it doesn't have the world building and the development in that regard that something like Faraway Paladin does. And I think that this is not as good, but I could also say it's a B tier. It is an isekai harem, and what it does differently is it takes a character who's not a NEET or anything like that, like a badass character, isekais him into the same sort of role he had in his previous life. So he goes from a badass to a badass, except young, so he gets to grow even more on top of the badass that he already had because he's retaining that knowledge. And he's also, helping these different people, but he's only helping them in order to take advantage of them, so that way they can assist him with the things that he needs to get done. And he takes his job seriously, his job of finding this hero and taking them out, and learns a lot along the way, and really takes the things he learns and makes improvements. I thought it was a decent series. I didn't love it personally. I liked it a lot. I didn't love it. He wants to marry his cousin, who's now a sister. And then he's got these other two girls. One he calls a sister, who is in love with him and wants to his brains out. And then the other one is his servant, who is in love with him and wants to his brains out. It's just such an isekai. I don't know, man. I like it. It's more of like a guilty pleasure in my mind. Yeah. Next up, we've got Mushoku Tensei, the best anime of fall 2021, and probably in there for anime of the year. My anime of the year might still be Odd Taxi edging out Mushoku Tensei, but it's very close. And honestly, if either of those titles wins Anime of the Year, I'm happy. If something else wins Anime of the Year, then I don't understand. Like, I don't even know how that's possible, because those were the best anime. I mean, unless you're considering like Attack on Titan or ReZero Season 2 Part 2. But honestly, I think because Season 2 of ReZero was broken up into 2 pieces, it's not deserving of Anime of the Year. And same thing with Attack on Titan. You know, it's only half of that season. The other half is coming in 2022. So I think that Mushoku Tensei, Odd Taxi, those should be Anime of the Year, one of them. And that's where I put it. I put it in S tier. There's just so much development, world building throughout the entire series. It is phenomenal. It is just so fucking good. The characters develop beyond just the world. One of my favorite things about Mushoku Tensei is the fact that they say, fucking OP, we don't need that. And instead, let's just montage the world. You know, show different elements of cities or their travels, their journey, and develop the world in that way. And we get to meet all of these different characters that introduce new elements. There's just so much that, honestly, if you have not watched this series, it is definitely worth watching. Now, I will say that you might find it tough to watch the series because of the main character, Rudy, who is a 35-year-old NEET that has suffered some major trauma in his life and gets reincarnated into this world and, you know, grows up from a child. But because of who he was in his former life, was not a good person. He could have been a good person, but because of the trauma he endured, he ended up being selfish, resentful, kind of an asshole to people. But that's because he couldn't trust anyone. He felt alone, and he felt like people could never understand who he was. But as a result, yes, he is an asshole. He's a shitty character that you don't really root for. But as the series progresses, he gets better. Now, if you are the type of person that watches anime and tries to see yourself in the main character, you're probably not going to see yourself in the main character of Rudy. But I don't always see myself in the main character. Example, 86. I don't see myself as being the same type of person as Shin, who is like emotionless. Takt Op Destiny, I don't see myself as being like Takt, somebody that is super passionate about this one thing and is willing to sacrifice himself in order to make sure the thing is like, I'm not gonna do that. I don't see myself as average, so I can't see myself in Tadano within Komi. I also can't see myself as Komi because I am not shy. I do not have a communication disorder. Mirai, I cannot see myself in Mirai because I would not make the decisions he makes. But I can enjoy a piece of fiction that has a good plot, a good world being built up with every single episode, good characters that are developed throughout and their interactions with one another that also develop them more and showcase both their strengths and weaknesses, their positives and negatives. I just love the series, man. Mushoku Tensei, it was just phenomenal. And I cannot wait for season 2. And finally, we've got My Senpai is Annoying, which also A tier. I loved it. I loved My Senpai is Annoying. It is a rom-com that it's weird. It's a rom-com where the main two that are supposed to be a romantic thing aren't really a romantic thing. And they never are throughout the entire series. The first episode almost sets it up with the very end of the first episode, but through episodes 2 to like 12, nothing happens between them. Like you get some like shy futaba moments, but you don't actually get anything on Takeda's side of things. So okay. But there is a different couple in the series, Kazuma and Sakurai, and they are adorable, and I love that. The series is really good, and it's not as good as these other ones that I put above it, but yeah, definitely worth watching. Actually, it might not even be that. I'd probably put it like here. I'd probably say watch Blue Period over it. Yeah. But in terms of like actual comedy, it is the second best comedy that we had in this series, unless you're counting certain elements of Mushoku Tensei to be comedy. I would say that the main comedies here are Komi Can't Communicate, and then, yeah, Senpai is Annoying. Pretty fucking good, man. That's basically my tier list. You can feel however you want to feel about it. This is how I'm going to rank it. Now, if we had those last 2 episodes of 86 and the season did conclude, I might be able to boost it up. And same thing with Faraway Paladin, which also had a delay. I think there's one more episode. I'm pretty sure there's one more episode.
I've seen the finale by now.
I don't know where the fuck it would fall if I moved it around. This is how I see it. These are the only anime that I did watch. Now, again, this whole first row of the unwatched are probably things that I should watch, and I will be watching this in the winter 2022 season. From here, I would love to know how you felt about this. This is basically my ranking 1 through 12 or actually, we're not even gonna include these 1 through 10 of what I saw. This is how I would rank them. So if you ask me like, hey, what's the best anime of fall 2021? I'd say Mushoku Tensei, then Ranking of Kings, Komi, 86, Mieruko-chan, Takt Op Destiny, Blue Period, My Senpai is Annoying, Faraway Paladin, Taisho Otome Fairy Tale, World's Finest Assassin. This one, again, I can't really say too much on because I don't really know. I think that basically through these, I'd say that you could slap that at the end, but yeah, it's just not as good. But yeah, that's how I would rank things, and I would just love to know what you all felt about this fall 2021 season. How would you have ranked them? Down in the comments below, you can let me know. You might think that Platinum End was the best anime of the season, which I would have a very hard time of trying to understand. But honestly, anything within these top 9 here that I put, if you put them in at the number 1 spot, I wouldn't even be mad about it. You know, maybe you just enjoyed those more than I did, and that's fine. Maybe I enjoyed Mushoku Tensei more than you did. Maybe you dropped it. I don't know. But everyone is entitled to their own opinion here, and I would love to hear what yours is down in the comments. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, then like the video and subscribe to the channel with notifications on so you don't miss another one if you're interested in anime-themed content, since that's what we make on the channel. And until next time, make sure you all keep it fresh. Peace.